Hey, welcome back. Great to see you again. Thanks for coming back to the channel. We have got some follow-up from yesterday's video. Now I was thinking, we've been talking about COPART, some tips and tricks, how to try and avoid the dogs, etc, etc. You had a look at my watch list. I thought, you know what, let's dive in, go through the watch list in detail. Let's do some live bidding on COPART and let's see where we get to, shall we? I think that's not a bad place to start. So should we dive straight in? Let's do it. So first up to down our list is a 2016 Volkswagen Scirocco. Let's see how we get on with the bidding. So I've started bidding straight away. It opened up at 3,100. That was my bid. I set myself a figure of about 3,700, given that it was low mileage. The resale value of a Cat S, which this was around, I would say 7,000, not much more than that. So buying it for 3.5, maybe 3.7 with fees out of the door 4.2. There was, I estimated, £600 of parts, £300 of paint, which would give us an overall price of about 5.5 to 6k, and that would be ready to sell. So there wasn't much margin in there, and as soon as it started to get over this kind of number, I decided to take a bit of a back seat. And as you can see, it did go a lot higher than I actually wanted it to. And if you remember, we were talking about this as well, having the having a good look. And Bristol, yeah, about 120 miles away from where I am, so it's not going to be cheap. So yeah, 4,500 with the fees. That's, you know, you're not going to get a lot of change out of 6 grand, 5.5 grand. So it was quite an expensive car for flipping purposes. Next up is a car very close to my heart, and I know I was discussing with Darren, one of the viewers on Now We Drive, about bidding on this. Kept a close eye on it today. It's a 2018, very clean, Cat N. Let's have a look, see how we get on. Like I said, the John Cooper Works, a car that I know very, very well. If you remember, my 2015 went for 6,600. That was a slightly more desirable automatic, but this is one, as Darren pointed out to me, this is one of the later or last manual versions of this. So I said to myself, if I could steal this for around 6.5, given one, it's only 11,000 miles, and two, it is a run and drive, and the damage was only front right corner. It wasn't a great deal. I thought 6.5 would have been about as much as I wanted to pay, and it's in Wolverhampton as well. So I kept a very, very close eye on it, and it just went just a little over what I wanted to pay. It needed 2 new tyres at the front, new front headlight, and they are very expensive. See, I forgot I actually put a bid in at 6,700, which was quite funny, because I knew that it was a cracking value, because you can retail this for 12.5, being such a late version. It wasn't super high on the spec front, no sunroof, it didn't have parking sensors, and a couple of other things it didn't have, but it was a very, very clean car outside of the damage at the front. And not overly expensive to repair, as I said. So, yeah, a bit of value here for someone. Now, you know, we were discussing for my wife's hairdresser, Joe. Hi, Joe. I know you watch your channel now and again. He's looking for an SLK SLC. And this is quite a late one, a 2016, a 66 plate, silver SLC. And, yeah, it was quite of interest to me. So, let's not say no more, let's dive straight into the auction. Out of all of the cars that really perplexed me today was this SLC. Now, it was a 66 plate, average mileage, 55,000, but when I put the registration number into Auto Trader, like I showed you in the last video, it was unrecorded, so it was a clean title, and the recommended retail price was somewhere in the region of 15k. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is ridiculously cheap. But there was a number of anomalies regarding this car that really did get the old radar going. Now, the actual bumper looked like it'd been kind of pinned back up just to kind of cover over the damage, and also you couldn't really see very much under the bonnet because they didn't show you anything, any pictures from under the bonnet, which was a real pain in the butt. And the same with the boot as well. And I'm not sure if this car had been kind of stripped, taken apart and put back together again. There was a number of things that actually didn't make any sense. And like I said to you in the previous video, if things are left a little bit, if you're left a little bit uneasy about any particular aspects of the car, then just walk away. There are lots and lots out there. And even though this one was so cheap and a clean title as well, it just felt like you were going to be committing yourself to a huge amount of trouble with this car, a huge amount, and stuff that would have been, I think you still made a profit, but I just think it would have been a huge amount of heartache. And this is a car that I would have recommended highly to go and see. But unfortunately, because of the lockdown, that's not possible. But I said to myself, look, if we get up to 4K, you see me bidding on here, a 4K, then that was enough. And that was enough. And it got to, where did it end up? 4,500 or something like that. I'll shoot this video forward. So 47.50, I think, was the end price. Subsequently, which I still think is good value, actually, to be honest, as long as there was no underlying issues with the car, which unfortunately we will never know. And last up today, an A5 S-Line convertible. This would be, if I remember rightly, a 14 plate with quite a nasty shunt to the back. But there is some value. So let's dive in and see how we get on. Now this one was going to be a bit of I thought a bit of a steal, actually, and let me tell you why. The rear damage was, it looked pretty bad, but I summed it up that there was basically about £1,000 worth of parts were needed, which was, and I could have gotten all color coded, ready to go on the car, which is a bumper, a boot lid, and the tray around the back of the convertible where the hood goes in. I can't remember what it's called, but that was going to cost me about £1,000 completely shipped, and this was going to be an easy fix. And I'd set myself a target of 4K for this car. It doesn't show the mileage, but it was about, I looked at the last MOT, it was about 40,000, something like that. So it was decent mileage. Everything stacked up. He hadn't gone through before. Very simple insurance job. The only thing was slightly worrying was it said it wasn't running, but there were pictures of the car with the engine on and the revs up. So I didn't really get that, but yeah, it was definitely a runner, shall we say. And there's no reason to think it wasn't a runner, given it was a rear end shunt. But as you can see, it got to 40.50. I went to 4,050 was my last bid, I think, if I remember rightly. And yeah, I threw the towel in because, let's work it out. I would say the retail price of this, I did bid another time. It was my last one of that. I was just trying to win something for the channel. But we could sell this for, say, 7.5. Okay, so you buy it for 4, say £1,000 worth of parts. Let's say £1,000 worth of pulling and get it on the jig to straighten the rear out. Might not be that much, might be a little bit less, but if we say £1,000, so you buy it for 4, out the door, delivered for 4.7, shall we say, and then another couple of grand, that's 6-7, you might nick £800, maybe 1,000 out of it. So going at that number of 4,200, it was very much touch and go. So there you go. We did give it a go, and we tried our very best to try and win something, but we set ourselves a target. We stuck to it, We didn't go over it, which is something you have to do when it comes to Copart, or any bidding for that matter. But I don't know if you've noticed, actually, if you've been bidding on Copart at all recently, but there seems to be a definite swing towards more auctions across the week, but less lanes. So I was noticing today there's a lot more participants in the Sandy. There was only one lane, but they've got more and more Sandys during the week. So if you pick Sandy as your local Copart centre, then you've got more chances to buy cars through the week. So I'm sure it just kind of focuses one's attention to those particular lanes, where usually they have maybe 3-4 lanes going. Quite interesting to watch. I noticed there was 1,500 participants today in the Sandy Lane A. I was looking at a number, but Sandy Lane A was one I was looking at. So thank you so much for joining us here again on Now We Drive. I've got some more on my watch list tomorrow, only a couple. Let's see how we get on there, but definitely doing another video for Wednesday. I've got 9-10 cars on my watch list. Definitely want to have a good go on Wednesday to try and win something. So stay tuned, keep coming back. If you've not subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. But like I said, thank you so much for your time, really appreciate it. Please stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon.